Yikes. Hello, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new. As you can see from the paleness, ow, I just hit my elbow. As you can see from the paleness of my face and the great amount of spots and the disintegrating eyebrows, you know, I need to be more nice to myself, but we're doing a get ready with me, and I thought, you know, spice it up a little bit. I'm gonna do a little story time because I wanted to film this as a separate video. However, it wouldn't have been a very long video, to be fair, because I can't remember most of the details. So I thought I'd just smash the two video ideas together and make it in one. Anyway, let's just get on with it. Alright, let me like put my hair up and then I'll get to talking your ear off. I look like a child. Let's begin. So, when I was a kid, so I have moved around all my life. That makes me sound very dramatic, like I'm in like some Disney show. Like, oh my god, finally found my life. No, finally found my place. I don't know. Anyway, as a child, I did move around quite a bit, and the place that I was like at the most was usually like in London, but like just in different parts of London, and I can't even remember what part of London this was when I lived here. However, I was probably about like 8 years old, and shit was weird. So when I was 8 years old, we lived in a house, but we lived in the ones where they were like separated. So you had the first floor, someone lived on the first floor, and then someone lived on the second floor. We lived on the first floor, so our little like house type thing was just like almost like a little bungalow, even though from the outside it wasn't, but to us inside it felt like a bungalow. So it was just like one long strip, and like you just had different like rooms. My room was like in the middle of this whole thing, so you had the door here, you had the living room, then you had my room, then you had the kitchen, then you had the bathroom, and then you had my parents' room. And I honestly still don't know to this day what on earth was wrong with that place. I can't tell you. Oh, how am I gonna do this? I don't want to get my eyelashes wet. I know this is not good for you. I've heard so much bad things about Mario Badescu facial spray, but I like it. I like it so much, I'm sorry. Anyway, by what I mean, like, I don't know what was wrong with that house, was that every time I went to sleep, or every time it even got dark and I wasn't even going to sleep, I was just in bed, a lot of things would start going wrong, and like just really weird things would start happening. So like there was a few instances where I would come out of my room, so you've got this stretch of like a corridor almost. I would come out of my room and I'd want to go to like the bathroom, or I'd want to go see my mum or something, and I'd come out and then I would hear scratching at the front door. Not a knock, nothing like that, just literally like scratching, like, and I would freak the fuck out. So I would try run to my mum's room because I would be fucking terrified. However, I couldn't run. Like, you know, in like those dreams that you have, like in like these nightmares, you have these dreams where like you're running but you're like on the spot, like you can't move. That was literally what it felt like, and I honestly was so confused what was going on. Like I thought I was having a nightmare, like I just thought like I must be asleep, but I was fully awake. Because I remember I fell, like after that kind of on the spot for a bit, I fell, and then the next morning I had bruises all down my legs, like just new ones out of nowhere. And like I remember my mum being like, what was that sound? And I was just like, obviously I was like, what the fuck? Like I just, as a kid, you don't really understand what's going on, so I was like, I don't know, like, I'm scared. So my mum just thought I had a nightmare, but like I was 100% awake the whole time. And then I had a few times where I'd be in bed. So like, let's imagine this room. So I've got my room, my bed's here, my window was next to it there, and then my door was there, and like I would just be laying in bed and then I'd hear scratching at the window, the same as the front door, and like I would just start freaking out. And obviously as a kid you think, oh, you can get away from monsters if you just go under the covers. I'd go under the covers and I'd still hear this same scratching, and there was multiple instances that my mum would come into my room, be like, what's that sound, and I'd be like, obviously terrified, not even knowing what to say. Like, I was a very quiet kid, so I would just like be like, oh, there's a monster. But obviously you know what parents are like when you say that. They're like, oh, there isn't a monster, like, don't worry about it. Sis, I was being haunted. I just didn't know how to say it as a child. I thought it was just that house. There was multiple instances and I just thought it's just that house. So like whenever I would have like the opportunity to like go to my grandparents' house, I would take it, because I would honestly be terrified every single night to fall asleep. But then I started going to my grandparents' house quite a lot. I would have the same thing, not with the front door, but I'd still hear things from the front door. And like their house was even older, so I don't know what that has to do with anything, but like it scared me even more because there would be a lot of creaking and all that kind of stuff. But like most of that stuff is normal. Like an old house just like makes random noises, doesn't it? But it doesn't scratch. And I'd still have the same thing. I'd fall asleep, and in this house, the bedroom was like, so you had the bedroom there, you had the bed here, and you had the window there. So I could see out the window, and there was these shutters, and I'd shut them every single night just to make sure like if there was anything outside, I just couldn't see it. If they couldn't see me, I couldn't see them, you know? I don't know how I thought that would help my case, but obviously I was a child, what did you expect? And like I remember like just waking up in the middle of the night and the shutters were open. I literally shut them before I went to sleep and they'd be open. I'd be so terrified I couldn't even look out the window. So I would just look at the wall opposite and I could see all these different shadows. Like someone was like floating outside this window and I could see this shadow, and I would just be like, if I keep so quiet and if I keep under these covers, no one will hear me, no one will think I'm here. They'll just think like it's a messy bed. Which I don't know why, like as a kid, I don't even know what I'd do like to this day if it was still happening, because thank God it stopped. If I was still having this to this day, I genuinely don't know what I would do, because my instinct as a child was hide under the covers. If they can't hear you, no, if they can't hear you, they don't think you're there. And obviously just a child of a mind, mind of a child. But it was very, very fucking weird. And there was like multiple instances where I'd be downstairs, and this would be with everyone around, like with all my grandparents, and like sometimes I'd have other family over. We'd hear like random noises upstairs. Obviously they were like, oh, it's just an old house, it's old, like it's just random things. But I would hear like footsteps, and I'd be like, well, is someone upstairs or something? Like, has someone gone, like, because there was a toilet upstairs and a toilet downstairs. I was like, did someone go to the upstairs toilet? Because I often went to the upstairs one because I preferred it. And they were like, no, everyone's here. And I'd be like, what the fuck? I'd honestly be terrified to go to the toilet. I'd have to like run up there because I hate the bottom stairs toilets. And I was just like, what the fuck? It just kept on happening. And then, so at this point I was still living in London. I moved, or not by my own accord, my mum moved, and we lived like in the town that I live next to now. We got this flat and we were on the bottom floor again. My window outlooked the parking lot, but over the parking lot you had like bushes, and then over that you had like a main road, and it was very easy. Like there were so many like openings in the bushes for you to get through, because like I remember when I would walk home from school, there was like a big opening that I would just quickly like get in, and then like that was like a shortcut to like the flat. The same thing kept on happening there as well. I would hear these scratching on the windows. Sometimes I would look out of my window and I would see someone in the distance just staring through my window, because there was a time period where we didn't have blinds, and honestly pretty much every single night I would run into my mum's room terrified. And at this point I think I was like 11 or 12. Like I'd grown up a little bit, and I thought, oh, like I always told myself that it was just like, oh, it was just a kid thing, like, oh, how kids always like, oh, there's like a monster under my bed or whatever. I thought it was just that. So like I thought, yeah, it's fine. But no, like as I kept on growing up, it still carried on till I was about 12. I would be absolutely terrified. I had to like make sure my windows were locked. But obviously as a kid I didn't realise like it was a spiritual thing. I didn't realise I was being haunted. Like now that I've sat here, realise everything that's happened, it wasn't like someone was stalking me, because it was like different locations all the time. The only explanation was that I was literally being haunted. Yeah, it just carried on happening, and I think it only really stopped when I got to about like 14, 15, and then I never experienced something like that again. But it was just weird. It was just like I just didn't understand it, because it was like, how do you explain that to someone? because they just think that you're like being a child, like you're just being a bit crazy. You know how kids are. But I remember just being absolutely terrified, like it just kept on happening, and there's nothing I can do about it. There was no one I could talk to because everyone was just like, oh, there's no monster outside. It's not a fucking monster. I'm being bloody haunted. Oh god, I feel claustrophobic, Darren. I just never understood. I'm literally using the same brush. I just can't be asked to get another brush out. How crazy. I still can't believe like that happened in my life. I still feel like to this day, like I've only really been able to tell about like 2 or 3 people and like not feel like I'm completely insane and I'm just making it up, because I know I experienced it. But you know when you like talk to some people and they're like, yeah, sure, that happened, sure, and you're just like, don't make me feel crazy, like I know what I experienced. Like I was such a terrified kid because of this stuff. Like it just kept on happening in different locations, and I just never understood. Like there was nights that I would literally just stay up, I wouldn't be able to sleep because I'd be terrified that if I fell asleep, the person that was outside my window would get me. And I don't understand it, because I thought that usually, I've got makeup on my nails, I thought that it usually stays either within a building or like within a house or whatever, or it stays with a person. So I never understood why. Like obviously we moved, so I thought, oh, okay, it stayed with a person, but then why did it leave when I was like 14 and 15? I've had attachment issues. Like, babe, why didn't you say bye? I still can't have a room without blinds. There was a period of time, like I now live on the 1st floor rather than the ground floor, and I was still like, I'm bloody 19 and I was still terrified not to have blinds because I'm so like traumatized from this experience. I know that nothing's coming after me now. It seems like whatever it was, if it was a spirit or something, it's gone now, because I haven't seen anything like it in like a few years, and I haven't had any like weird instances or anything. You know, she do be gone, but I was still like traumatized to the fact that I was like still a bit scared to not have blinds on my windows for the time period that we moved in. Like I literally had to get my bed to be on the opposite side of the window when we moved in, so that I could make sure that I could see out the window. And it's just like, I don't understand. I don't really get what was going on there with me at all. Like, am I crazy? Was I just being a child, or was I actually haunted? I'm convinced I was haunted, but like if my mum watches this, she's probably gonna be like, no bitch, you were just a child. I never saw it and we lived in the same places. But I don't know. I really don't know. I genuinely don't think I'd be able to even go back to that like house slash bungalow place. I've gone back to my like grandparents because they haven't moved since the incident that I had. Like they're still at the same house. That's what I mean, like the spirit must be gone because I went back to the same place, like okay, my nan's, like the same exact room that all this stuff went down. I haven't seen it, I haven't heard it, nothing. Oh, there was one instance where my nan, I remember, walked into my room, like the room that I was staying in, it's like a guest room. And like, I wasn't like saying anything, like I was completely quiet because obviously I had that thought that, oh yeah, like if they can't hear you, you're not there type thing. So I literally was absolutely quiet, and there was one time I remember that she walked in and she was like, what was that noise? Are you okay, Vic? What's wrong? What was that noise? And I just was like, I literally didn't say anything. I've literally been hiding under the covers. So like, what noise? Oh, obviously I knew it was like the scratching on the window and the fucking floating figure. Obviously I'm gonna be like, oh, there's a floating figure outside my room. Ah! My nan would have bloody gone, you know what, you need a therapist, love. Look how tiny my lip liner is. Like, this is how much patience I've got left. That's quite quick, actually, that lip liner. Look at it go. The spirits are quaking. They can't handle this lip liner. Genuinely, I think if I saw that spirit today, I genuinely think I'd just have a heart attack. I don't think I'd be able to take it. And I feel like I'd probably be put into like under supervision. Like, I don't even know what I'm trying to say. Yeah, I think if I saw that spirit today, I genuinely don't think I would survive. Like, that sounds very like dramatic, but I just don't think I'd be able to do it, because I'm very much like, I love my horror films, don't get me wrong, but I could never deal with something like that. I'm surprised as a kid. I mean, it still traumatized me to this day, but I'm surprised as a kid I was able to handle it as well as I did. Just hiding under my covers. And it's like, I never really had nightmares. I had like one nightmare that was like a severed hand walking around on the floor. That sounds very, very extreme. However, it was the only nightmare I had. I never had a nightmare about the spirits. I never had a nightmare about someone outside my window. I was always awake when stuff like this happened. And that's why, like, I am convinced I was being haunted and it wasn't just like a childhood kind of thing, because it did last until I was about 14. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. I feel so like, ooh, like I've not even, like I said earlier, I've literally told about like 3 people about this story. So like, I guess you're getting to know me. Watch the spirits come back angry, being like, why the fuck did you tell our story on YouTube? I'm gonna haunt you again, bitch. Oh, make a joke out of it so you don't get scared. Alright, thank you for watching my video. If you enjoyed, give it a big thumbs up, subscribe, turn the bell notifications on, all of that jazz, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye, ciao.